Hey everyone, for my art history map, I decided to go with a structure that looks like a cavern. And to me, this made sense because I feel like there's some areas that I've studied more than others throughout my schooling, or maybe just topics that I've researched more on my own because I'm more interested in them. And so in those areas, I feel like I'm well illuminated, if that makes sense. I have a bigger space for them. But then there's other areas that maybe I've dabbled in or I don't know anything about. So I'll kind of explain it as it goes. So here's where I entered, and I put modern art right here because I feel like I'm more heavily saturated with modern art. It's more easily accessible to me. I can go to a museum, or my city where I am right now is really heavily involved in the arts. So they do a lot of art festivals and stuff. So modern art is a little bit more accessible. So I put it right here at the front. And I do know quite a bit about it. I've studied it a bit more than other topics. But I don't feel like it's like the main focus that I've studied on. And so then I have a little tunnel right here that I blocked off because I feel like there's a lot more that I could learn in different areas, sculpture or whatever of that modern art. I also mainly know American modern art. So maybe this is a doorway to, British modern art or something like that. So I kind of pretended like if this was a cavern, maybe this is closed off and I haven't gone there quite yet. So I want to take you up into the main cavern. So this is where I put my main focus. And this is stuff like the Italian Renaissance, Baroque, Rococo, Grecian and Roman art. Those are all areas that I'm super interested in. I've done most of my studies in those areas. And then last summer, I was actually able to go to Rome and to Italy and France and actually get to see some of that art in person and study it even more in depth. So branching off of that, we'll go this way first, is Islamic art. I took my first class in Islamic art during one of my first semesters here at ASU, and I absolutely fell in love with it. It's not something that I ever thought, it wasn't a topic that I thought I'd be super interested in, but I fell in love with the architecture and the textiles and all the symbolism behind Islamic art. So I've studied quite a bit in that, and so I put it as an opened area. But again, I feel like there's other branches off of that, more specific branches, narrower branches of Islamic and Eastern art that I haven't yet explored. If you were to go back into the main cavern, and we'll go across, this is Eastern and Asian art. Again, I've studied a little bit of Japanese art, a little bit of Chinese art, so I feel like I know a good bit about it. I've taken quite a few classes, anime, stuff like that, but I also feel like I don't have as good of grasp on like what the specifics are between the different cultures, between Japanese art and Chinese art, and then even into, the other Asian countries. So I feel like I really only have just a little bit of taste of Japanese and Chinese, but there's so much more to explore. So I put little branches off that again are kind of closed off for right now. So back into my main cavern, you can drop down here into the digital and video game art. I have not done too much research or studying into digital art. It's not something that super interests me. I've done a little bit of dabbling because my cousin actually is a professional video game artist, but I haven't done any hardcore studying. So I put that as a little area that I've kind of explored more as an interest as far as, playing the video games or watching what my cousin does. And he sent me, his thesis and stuff like that. But it's not something that I feel that I have like hardcore researched. So that's why it's a little bit of a smaller cavern. And then branching off of that is comics, cartoons, all of that. Again, I've kind of dabbled in. I feel like throughout many of my classes, we've covered little areas of art where, they did work in newspapers or in comic strips or, political pieces. But it's not an area that I feel like I have a great depth of knowledge, which again is why it's a little bit of a smaller cavern. Okay, and then so we go back down out of our main cavern into the modern art cavern. And off to the side here, I have Mayan and Mexican art. And then straight up from that is like the Indies and the Oceanic art. These are two areas that I absolutely love. I'm from Florida. I also have Native American history, so I have been heavily exposed to a lot of art exhibits that are Mayan and Aztec and Mexican and Indian, because we just have a lot of that type of art here in Florida. So I've gotten a chance to see a lot of that in person, and I absolutely have fallen in love with it. I love the culture behind it, the symbolism. I love the different the different ways that each specific culture kind of took the same ideals and expressed it in their own way and adapted it. So I made those two kind of connected, because I feel like those are a very similar style of art, that kind of indigenous style versus the more classical, Renaissance style art that we see. So this is my little art history cavern. And again, I blocked off a lot of areas because I feel like there's so much more out there that I haven't explored yet. These are just kind of the areas that have been my main focus during my studies or things that I'm personally interested in. So I hope you guys enjoy.